Hello and welcome back into the Wild Tales podcast. I am your host, Mike Bona, and I've been having a great time during the short run so far of this podcast, just being here with you guys and sharing some stories with my amazing guests. I would like to hear from you. I'm just curious for my listeners, where do you come from? What part of the world? Why do you listen to this podcast? What excites you? What kind of stories you want to hear? So, hey, if you want to interact and engage, please do so on my Instagram, Wild Tales Pod, or you can email me, wildtalespod@gmail.com. I would love to hear from you. I would love to be able to get more interaction with you lovely listeners on Wild Tales. Anyway, let's get into our guest. Today is a longtime friend of mine, Jacob Calle. He is... What isn't he? He's a jack of all trades. He is a filmmaker. He's a conservationist. He's a former zookeeper. He used to be a stuntman. He worked on the TV show and the movies Jackass. He's done almost all of it. He's got a lot of stories to tell. He's very passionate about wildlife. He's currently filming a documentary about rhino poaching. He's taken a completely new perspective at the issue, which he's going to talk about. I know he's done a lot of work with the African Pangolin Working Group, working with protecting pangolins in the wild. He's been all over the world working with animals. He's done a lot of cool things that I wish I would have the opportunity to do. So, hey, I still have time. Maybe I'll get there. But in the meantime, please enjoy his story, and I will catch you on the other side. Please welcome Jacob Calle. So, all right, well, I suppose we can get started. So we'll just roll right into it. So, hey, Jacob Calle, thanks for coming on to the Wild Tales podcast. The man with my favorite last name is Hot.
Hot on the street.
On the street, man. I've known you for a handful of years now, and you've been so cool and helping me with my conservation comedy shows and just anywhere, and just hearing all of your stories. You got so many going out and back and forth to Africa and South Africa, working with the pangolin, working with the rhino, doing it all, man.
I appreciate that. I started going to Africa about 10 years ago, working on this movie. But the first time I went there was in 2012, and I did a month in Kenya and just fell in love with the continent. And that's when the travel bug bit me and then got infected. I guess that was one vaccine that I didn't take going to Africa, because now I just can't stop going back.
I feel you, man. I've been there not enough time, but I wanted to keep going back.
It's the best place in the world.
It is. It's beautiful.
The most kindest people.
Yeah. So what is this movie you referred to?
Right now, for the longest time, I was calling this project that I've been working on in South Africa, I was calling it Vanishing Heartbeats. Obviously, that's just a title name for now. We are currently calling it How to Kill a Rhino. And while that name is quite controversial, but it gets your attention, you're like, wait, how to kill a rhino? Aren't we supposed to keep these things alive? But the documentary is this relationship that I've built with these poachers that are currently killing the rhino. And they tell me how it's done and how a syndication is operated. Because I think of this film being more of that's just more focused on anthropology, just like focusing on the human lives rather than the animals. Because if you think about it, wherever there's animals going extinct, there's poverty nearby. And so we're helping to show the real world and bring light to these impoverished villages, and showing that, hey, these people can't read, they can't write, they haven't gone to school since they were 5 years old, because they had to quit school so they could go fish and sell the fish so they could have money to bring back to their family, just so they could live for today. And so, yeah, it's a very heartwarming story where you're not going to so much think that the poachers are the bad men. It's just the system that they live in. It's so corrupt, because at the end of the day, if you had children and they were starving, you would definitely go to the farm across the street and go like kill a chicken to go feed your, and like, and that's the thing, it's speciesism. We are defining these animals and putting them on tiers, panda, tiger, elephant, yada yada, and it just goes down to the bottom. Now it's like fish, pig, cow. They think of a rhino the way we think of a pig or a deer or a cow. It's just food on the table for them. So.
Well put. It's hard to. It's very controversial and it's hard to talk about, and we could probably talk about it for hours. But most people want to villainize the poachers, and what they're doing is, it's awful, and it could eventually lead to the extinction of rhinos. But the way you put it, what would you do if you're in their shoes, and this is the best opportunity you have to care for your family? So,
yeah, you're completely correct on that. Like, my man, he goes, Jacob, he's like, what am I going to do? He's like, I can't read, I can't write. Even whenever we WhatsApp each other, we talk all the time. Like we're like friends. And sometimes I'll text and then he'll like voicemail. He's like, Jacob, I can't read. Don't text. And I'm 43. We're the same age. We're 6 days apart. So anytime I'm out there, I try to go out there during our birthdays, because it builds a nice relationship, and I celebrate his birthday with him. And it's very unfortunate that they have to do those type of crimes. Unfortunately, crime does pay.
So in your view, is the key to preventing rhino conservation is stopping the poachers, or do you have to go farther up and stop the source of money that's leading to the poaching? In your view, to stop the poaching, is it the goal to stop the poachers, or do you go higher up the chain and stop the
higher up the chain? So with this documentary that I'm working on, just educating the viewer, and hopefully the world can see it and realize, oh, the corruption is so bad. Like even right now, there's a woman right now with a documentary that she just put out with, I believe, who's Barbie? What's her name? The actor?
Oh yeah. My goodness, put me on the spot.
That lady.
Yeah.
She's working on a movie with Jamie Thomas. Jamie Thomas has completed a documentary where she has made a film that very much correlates with what I'm working on. It could be actually like since hers is already out, mine could be the sequel. She's talking about the corruption in politics and how everything's connected with poachers. My end is I'm with the poachers, and they're telling me how everything is connected with the politics. So it's a very good documentary that you should watch on her end. I can't recall the title of it. Just Jamie Thomas.
It's our age, man. The brain just stops working from time to time. It's Margot Robbie. How do we forget her?
Margot Robbie, yeah. Can't forget her face.
Right. That's amazing. How do you get yourself in the position to develop such a strong relationship with
drugs,
with the poachers?
They like coke, they like weed. I don't do drugs, but I will be I'm quite keen on smoking weed, and it comes from Mozambique. Get it from this guy who knows how to get it in, but I just call it poacher's weed because that's who I get it from. And we just smoke weed. They're like looking at me, they're like, okay, well, he's not a cop, he's with us doing drugs, and he's smoking weed. And there was also an opportunity that gave trust, is whenever they wanted to buy a rifle and they got scared, and they said, nope, deal's off, get out of the car. We had this guy in my trunk of my rental in near Kruger National Park, and I'm like, are you sure? Come on, let's keep going. And I'm telling them, like, let's keep doing it. And I believe that whenever I feel like that whenever they saw that I was willing to do like illegal activity, they go, okay, this guy is not a cop. He's willing to take risk, but also, who the hell is this guy? Why is he doing all this? And I had one kingpin. He's like, hey, you got to come over, meet my friends from America, these new guys. Trust me, he's not a cop. I don't know what he is, but he is safe. And that meant a lot to me because, I'm trying to get in with these men and build a relationship. And I feel that, just playing the part, yeah, I am a journalist and but first of all, first and foremost, I'm a partier. And so, going out with these guys, they definitely appreciated me being on their side, and they see my whole project as a soapbox. And they're very appreciative that I'm telling their story because they do have a very tiny voice and they want to be heard because there are problems that they want to have solved.
That sounds amazing. I mean, it's I'm speechless.
Anytime I go meet these men, the relationships get stronger and stronger. Now he's like, okay, he's like, now you can stay the night at my house. Next thing you know, I'm holding a baby in my arms. I'm making dinner for the family. And, they're just poor. They're just poor people. And they don't have a lot of, financial income. And that's just what they do in order to make things livable in that situation. And, of course, I'm asking him, what do you do with your money? I want to know everything. Tell me everything. And he goes, my daughters, I take them to private school because public school is not going to help. So they're getting a proper education so that they can get out of that village and have a hopeful future and not have to do crime. So yeah, it's sad. It really is sad.
Yeah, it's tragic, and there's really, there's aren't any winners. I guess their kids are benefiting, but yeah, it's devastating. Like, what do you do? I guess that's the question we've been asking for years. These rhinos keep being shot. Like, what do you do? And so many different, techniques and ideas have been thrown out there, but it's still a problem.
Yeah, I when I first went out there, I was gonna expect to see, bad men, which they are. I'm not speaking for all of the rhino poachers. They are some that do it for fast living and partying and prostitutes and drugs. They bomb ATMs or money trucks. There's a big syndication with these people such as Big Joe, Mr. Big. He was a major kingpin in South Africa. He was just murdered by his men. And this is a guy that has invited me to his party. But my cameraman has said, no, like you are not putting me in this situation. And so we didn't go. A year later, I fired him and I realized I can go much further up this ladder if I just do everything by myself. And now I really regret having him come with me because I could have been at this party. Just maybe I couldn't have documented it, filming with my cell phone, because then I would be exposing all these faces. But at least I could just see, maybe animate the story in the documentary of what goes on at these type of parties and how they live. Because some of them are pretty ruthless, but thankfully somehow I fell in the hands of what I would define as a good man. He's a father. He's a good father.
It's certainly going to put a new perspective on rhino poaching and looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It will.
I mean, so
everybody's always saying the poachers, but at the end of the day, it's the entire system. And yeah, it's really sad. It's sad. They need help.
Do they have do they have an understanding about the rhino crisis, about how close they are to extinction, how every rhino that's killed It's
No, they don't. And I've thought about that. That's a really great question. And that's something that I think about all the time. I've been to many countries in Africa, and the first thing I'm just so excited for, see a black rhino. And sometimes it takes days. If not, I think I've only seen like 2 black rhino my entire life out in the wild. But in Kruger National Park, I've seen probably less than 5 or 6 southern whites. They're so difficult to find. There's only 20,000 of them in the wild in South Africa. And so whenever I try to tell these poachers, hey, when I go off to Kruger or anywhere, I'm like, I can't find rhino. You guys are killing them. You guys got to slow it down, man. And he's like, my man, there's enough rhino for you to see and for me to kill. And the thing is, we're driving on a path and we're in Kruger on a road.
yeah.
These guys are just walking through the bush. So they have a better chance of seeing a rhino. And not only that, as you know, with rhino behavior, the way they mark their territory and the way they speak, we have social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, yada yada yada. They have a place where all the rhinos come together, and like a rhino will poop, and he'll come back to it. That's how he socializes. And so the poachers will see that, and they'll go, okay, there it is. Let's just wait right here. We'll set camp. And sure enough, rhino come.
Yeah, we have Facebook. They have Poop Book.
Yeah, Poop Book. Yeah.
So that is a big lead up to, well, this is a storytelling podcast, and you've already told quite a few like mini stories, but do you have like a specific story you want to share for the podcast?
Yeah, whenever we first this is not related with the rhino, but when I first started going to Africa to work on this movie, I decided that it would be cool if I would just go around Kenya just catching animals with my bare hands. Actually, if you look on Instagram today, I posted the top 10 animals that I caught in Australia, and it's just like a slide of photos with all these animals in my hands. But in Africa, I went to Ethiopia, and I wanted to go check out the hyenas. Are you familiar with the hyena men?
Yeah, but for the listeners, you want to?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So in Ethiopia, they have a problem with their cattle and goats and livestock being demolished by hyenas. And so what they've done is, you don't bite the hand that feeds. And why would a hyena waste energy on a kill when these men just straight up feed these hyenas? And so we went to the slaughterhouse where they like slaughter the goats and the camels and yada, yada, yada. And we pick up all the scraps, and then we take it at the edge of town in Harar, Ethiopia, which is, to my knowledge, I believe is one of the oldest cities in the world. And it's all walled, it's protected. So you exit the wall, and you got these hyenas, and they come at night, and you have this big woven basket of just scraps of flesh of meat and just body parts. And so I'll just reach my hand out, and it's on a stick, so and I'll lure hyenas, and the hyenas will come, and they will eat the meat off of your like 1 foot long stick. And I was doing that, and I'm still, like, as like my association with Jackass, and so I'm like, holy these hyenas, deadly animals, one of the most incredible jaws in the world, and I could do some stunts here with these animals. And so I'm putting meat on my crotch, I'm putting meat on my chest, I'm putting meat on the top of my head, and they're just these wild hyenas are just eating off of me. And this is one thing that I was really upset with Wild Boys, because not only that I'm a stunt man, but I'm also a zoologist. And so when I saw Wild Boys with Chris Pontius and Steve-O, I'm like, that's my show. That's my show. God dang it. And so, yeah, this was my little episode of Wild Boys in Ethiopia. And one hyena, I felt the teeth just scrape on my skull, and it knocked me down. And then, as you know, they're very uh, uh, they you don't want to challenge them.
No.
The weakest female is stronger than the strongest male. And here comes this hyena, and that's right in front of me. And as I'm knocked down from the hyena behind me, I'm looking down on the ground, and I can't make eye contact, because if I make eye contact, that's a challenge. And I would probably, I would be in grave danger. And my friend took a photo of it. And it's the most hilarious photo, because I've got this hyena on top of me, and I've got this hyena down on me in front of me, and I'm just looking straight down. And you could see the fear in my eyes. And I'm like, what did I do here? But here's the thing, like my dad, he's always like, you're going to get killed doing this, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I mean, Dad, you're a crane operator. I would never want to be in a crane operating that. I would definitely hurt, injure, break something, because I'm not skilled. This is where my expertise comes in. Yeah, there is definitely a danger level to it, but at least I could control it with knowing the signs of, like, one, not making eye contact with a hyena. And unfortunately, that was the only defense I could have. But once I was catching all these animals in South Africa, or in Kenya and Uganda and Ethiopia, those three countries, I realized this is all ego. I need to stop this. This is not the film that I want to make. And that's whenever I ran into some poachers. And I'm like, well, hey, let me pick your brain. And I interviewed them on my camera. And that's when I realized, oh, I've been doing this all wrong. It's not catching animals is what is going to educate and turn the world around. It's hearing these men, giving them a voice for the first time. And so that's how this documentary was developed, because I was in Africa acting like a jackass catching animals.
Right. And when you're talking about catching animals, I envision like crocodile hunter like style.
Yeah, very much. I mean, Steve Irwin has a huge impact on my life, enough where whenever I went to Australia, I contacted the Australia Zoo, explained who I was, and they said, sure, come be our guest. And I got to work with the Australia Zoo for the day and just meet his friends and family. And I believe Terry was in Los Angeles doing, her gala.
Yeah.
I believe she was there in LA at the time, so that we switched spots. But I got to meet Wes and everyone else. And just hearing stories about Steve Irwin was great. And we did a koala release with the team, and they just got to allow me to just meet the entire crew. And it was just like an unforgettable moment. And why am I talking about Steve Irwin? Oh yeah, yeah. It was just catching animals. Yeah, I was wanting to do my version of Crocodile Hunter,
which led to meeting the poachers and your new project.
Yeah. So then while doing so, I began doing research with pangolins out in South Africa. And I decided, that's whenever I decided I would no longer catch animals for the sake of entertainment, and that I would spend the rest of my life just protecting animals even more, not even, just like don't touch the animals. That's just one of my big rules now in life, and that was something that the African Pangolin Working Group had educated me, because they saw my work in Africa just catching animals, and they're like, but why? And then one of the directors saw me catch an armadillo. It's just, I don't know, there's something about catching animals with my bare hands. I grew up in the country. It's just what I know. But after speaking with the pangolin team, I was like, you know what? That's behind me. I can, let's just take science a little bit more seriously. And we don't need to save animals by catching them for the sake of.
I agree. I admire that, because animals, you certainly, respect
stress on them
and educate from a distance. You don't need to put your hands on them. You don't need to, feed hyenas from your crotch, which I don't recommend anyone do.
I feel that, the animal was stressed out. It just ate it at a new spot. So I don't mind that, but I'm not going to no longer, grab an animal. I don't need to do that anymore.
It's fantastic. I appreciate you turning over a new leaf. And
I grew up.
You grew up. That's what we do. We grow up and we forget names of famous actresses.
Yeah. Anyways, next question.
I thought you were telling a story. Do I have questions?
Yeah, no. The story. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Just learning to become a better person, and just a better advocate and an ambassador for these animals. It's just, we don't need to cause any more stress on these animals that they're already in. And just, I feel like I would get greater mileage just meeting these poachers and just telling their story. And I feel like that is the route to go. That's unless, if an animal does need to be relocated, yada, 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 then let's, find the best, most humane way to capture these animals. I mean, you saw the zoo that I used to work at. There was, whenever we had to weigh them, we had to catch them, and it was insane catching those what were the cavies? Yeah. And there was so much stress on those animals, and I hated it, because you see them just breathing so fast. And I'm like, that's one way to freak them out in public, and everybody's looking like, what the hell are you guys doing with these animals? Like, so no longer.
Many zoos do it better than others.
I just.
Well, I look forward to seeing this documentary and hearing your story and the story of these poachers. I know it's still making its way through the Hollywood system, so
I'll be out
as soon as there's word that it's can be viewable by the public. I'll definitely be sure to share it and let people know that.
Thank you, I appreciate that. The world is going to really appreciate this project. I'm excited for it.
Great. I know you have more stories, so we'll have you back on to tell them in the future.
Actually, can I just tell one thing that I wanted to share? Is that one of the things that I really learned from these poachers is that I'm getting information that I feel that the world is not getting at all to the public. And so, one of the things that they taught me is how they kill a rhino. And they showed me this shoe.
You're wearing a shoe.
On the shoe, the sole has been ripped off the shoe and re-sewn backwards. And so that whenever they're off hunting rhino, they wear these shoes with backward soles, so that if they get caught, it looks like they're going the opposite direction.
That's wild.
And so these are the kinds of information that I will be showing in this film. Just like I said earlier, how to kill a rhino. And it goes everything from how they dress to politicians and everything in between. And I think this film is going to be a great eye-opener, and people will rethink the way they feel about poachers, because when you think of poachers, you're like, oh, F those guys. They need to be, we need to cut their Achilles and just left off in the bush and let the animals to feed them. But no, we got to be more empathetic on the way we approach this situation. And I feel like I'm trying to approach it very delicately in order to not insult anyone, but also approach it where people don't feel that I'm being biased towards the poachers. And just like, let's just tell their story. Just please let me have this little camera and tell their story so that the world can properly understand and make a better educated opinion on what's going on right now with these rhinos, because I feel that, you and I, will probably still see rhinos in our lifetime, but your children, I feel that they will see the rhino go extinct in their lifetime, along with elephants and gorillas and lions and everything else. And that's just one reason why I don't want to have any children, because what's a world without animals? That's a world without life.
It certainly feels that way sometimes, and let's hope not. That's why we do the work we do, to prevent that from being our future. And I appreciate the work you do, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. And looking forward to hanging out with you next time.
Definitely. Take care, brother.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Thank you, Jacob, for joining the podcast, and thank you, listeners, for listening. He's had quite a wild adventure in his life, working with wildlife, working with animals, getting involved with rhino poaching. I know it's a bit controversial, but I hope you can look at it from a different angle and understand where he's coming from. Again, like I said at the beginning, I know where his heart is. He's very passionate about conservation, and this is a passion project that means a lot to him. And I hope when it comes out, I will let you guys know, and you all get a chance to watch it and kind of see from that perspective. I certainly don't want to give poachers a pass, but maybe we are putting too much blame on them when the problem lies higher up the chain of command when it comes to rhino poaching. It's just a thought. In the meantime, let me know what your thoughts are. You know where you can find me, at Wild Tales on Instagram, and email wildtalespod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay wild, my friends.